Hi and welcome. My name is Denise Cowell. I'm a Creative Memories Advisor in Ormond Beach, Florida. And today I'm putting together the Project Playbook. Let me go to my desk. The Project Playbook for Grateful Harvest. What I wanted to do is, as I was putting this together, I'm not going to be putting it together all on camera, but I wanted to give you some tips and trips about what I'm doing. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to come back and tell you the changes that I made to the cutting guide. So in case you just wanted the tips and you didn't want all the information, I figured I would just kind of go through what I'm doing, what my plans are, and then come back at the end and give you the dimensions. So let's take a look at the project playbook first. This was created by Kylie Kingham, who is a Creative Memories Advisor in Australia. She's an amazing designer. I follow her. Yeah, Kingham. So what is in here is instructions to do 4 one-page layouts and 1 two-page layouts. So what I'm going to be doing is actually changing them all to be 2-page layouts. This one, project 1, I'm going to do as a 2-page layout. Project 2, I'm actually going to leave this as a 1-page layout because I'm thinking I want this for the end page of an album I'm working on. So I'm going to leave this one as a 2-page layout, but I'll give you the instructions of how to change it to 2-page. Here's layout number 3. I'll be changing that one to a 2-page. Number 4 will be a 2-page, and number 5 is already a 2-page. So we'll end up having 9 pages. I've also put away the paper for the project recipe, which I will be doing shortly at one of my VIP Zooms. And after that, this is the amount of paper I have left over. I have 3 sheets. I might have some more. We're going to talk about some of the changes I might do there. So you still will have a couple of sheets of the tonal left over. And let's just take a look at that. The one thing that I'm thinking of, I do have everything cut. Remember how we cut them and we put them all into piles for each project? So off camera, I have everything in separate piles. This up here in front of me is the ovals that we need to cut, and that will be for layout 2 for this pumpkin pile here. So what I'm thinking is this one here, see how it has these two, and they're calling it, here they call it a tan tonal design. Here they're calling it beige wash. I think it's the same thing because there is no tonal, and it does say tonal designer, so I think they just don't have the name right. I need a 5-inch circle of this for my project recipe. You also need part of this sheet to cut for layout 5 and layout 2. And then if I'm changing this to a 2-page spread, I'm going to need 2 pages here. So I don't have enough. So I'm thinking I'm going to be welding it here. And when I come back later, I'll give you those instructions when we look at it. Just kind of want to let you know up front what we're doing. We're going to leave this as a 1. This we're going to totally duplicate. Now, I do have this paper here. I only have 1 sheet because I'm using the other sheet with my project recipe. So I also brought out some hot fudge cardstock that I might use. So I don't have the mats cut. I don't have the 2 beige cardstocks, the avocado, or this sheet cut yet because I need to double that. So I want to cut some more, and then I want to come back. This one here, I'm just going to duplicate it. I have enough for that. And then my thought was for this page, it calls for using, this is paper number 11, calls for using this orange plaid. But I have a big piece, well, I have a little piece of this. This one's not called orange plaid. This one's a darker plaid. But I'm going to see if I can maybe save this sheet and maybe just use some remnants that I have left over. So we're going to see about that. So I'll keep coming back as I'm putting these pages together in case I want to share anything as we're going along. So I'll be back. So I'm back with layout number 1, project number 1. So let's talk about what I did. And again, we're going to go into the cutting detail in more detail later, the cutting guide. Just wanted to give you some tips. So the right hand side, I followed the exact directions from the project playbook, but what I did so that I had enough paper for the back is I cut 2 3-inch pieces, 2 4-inch pieces. I was then able to get what we need from the cutting guide here. And see this little spot here where we have 3? I was actually able to get all 6 of my carts in there. And again, we'll go through the cutting guide later in more detail in case you kind of just want some tips and don't need to be here to talk about the entire cutting guide. So then I just welded that together. Again, this one I don't have attached yet so that I can show you, and I just made the base pages because I don't know where I want to put the mats yet. This does have spots for 3 3x4s on this beige cardstock and then 1 5x3.5 on the avocado. What I did want to say is also for this, you can see this laser embellishment they have going across the entire page. We will end up cutting it in half so that we'll have half on each side of the page, and it should line up with our avocado. We're just not going to have this little bit at the end. But I just wanted to come show you, give you some tips for this layout, project 1, and I'll be back and we'll talk about project number 2. So while I'm putting project number 2 together, which I am just going to be doing the one page, there are a lot of little pieces for this one. But what I wanted to mention is 4 pieces, 2D and 2E, where we're going to be cutting them in half diagonally, which I have, and then you're going to be cutting it 1 inch up. So what I did is I have 2 lined up together. I have the point right along the line here, and I am going to come, you're going to go towards the point. So if you just push down, and this, you can see that my point is at 2 inches. No, you can't because my hand's in the way. See, the point is at 2 inches. What I'm going to do is bring this down so my housing's at 2 inches, and then I've cut 1 inch down, and I've cut them all identical, so I don't have to worry about things that are different. So I just wanted to show you that while I was cutting them. Now making this stacked pumpkin is pretty easy. You're going to have 3 of the yellow, 3 of the green, and 3 of the orange. Now when she's talking about which circles, which ovals to use, sorry, this one is the extra small. So this is the very smallest one with the red blade on the inside. The yellow is the next smallest one with the red blade on the inside, and then the green is actually the smallest one, not the smallest, not the extra small, the small one with the red blade, green blade on the inside. So green is green. And then basically all you need to do is, let me bring up this onto my mat, is just put a little bit of repo in the middle, overlap them. Let me bring up the tiniest bit, and then repo on the other one, and then you can just stack those, and then this teeny tiny piece that you cut, which is 9E, it's 3/8 of an inch by 1, that is just going to go under here once we attach them all, right? And that's our stacked pumpkins. So let's talk about project 2 as I'm finishing this up. Some tips to do these little corners. So these beige ones are going to go, I put them at the 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Your white piece, because it's 10, is going to be 1 inch all the way around. These little tiny 1/8 of the inch, just put them around the corners. Now this one that we cut the 1 inch off of, we're just going to fold that up, or not 1 inch up on each corner, not 1 inch off, 1 inch up. We're going to fold those. I tried to get them as close as possible. I'm using my mat to see if I'm getting that kind of square, right? And then I'm adding a little bit of repo with regular tape underneath. And then when you add it to the page, I'll just put some repo. you're just going to go right on the edge of the white. So we're just going to line this up, and actually I have a little bit hanging down here. I'm going to trim this off. I have a little bit of that one underneath hanging off. I'm just going to, you won't see it, just so it doesn't hang underneath my corner here. And it'll line up right with the white, and then this will kind of be it. And you can see now I'm not straight, so I'm going to make this a little straighter, just kind of show you how you can put these on, and if it doesn't look quite right, this is where you can make sure that you fold it and make it square. Oh, that's better. That looks more square. Okay, there's our stacked pumpkins. This one's a little bit more tedious than the other ones. There's a lot to put together, and this is going to fit in that corner. And you can see how she's done the embellishments, which are gorgeous. Now, if you wanted to do the matching page to this, what I would do is I would make this one my left-hand page, do exactly the same thing on my right, except you could then have four 4x4 pictures or mats on this side. So that's how I would finish up for project 2. So this is project 3. I don't have it attached yet. I wanted to talk about it. There is enough paper to be able to do both of these. She's really good at telling you how far to line everything up. So this would be the mirror image. Now this brown is, I don't think we're going to have enough to create enough paper, because again I'm using one of these for the project recipe, to create all of these mats. So I'm not going to cut the mats yet, but I do have a piece of hot fudge that I might be able to use some mats here or on another page. But what I do want to show you is, let's just use this mat here, and as you see, just say that this was our picture mat up here. What they have is we've cut 3 of these, and they're going to go right at the top of our little wagons. And if you check the cutting guide, you'll see that you're cutting some out of the bait, and actually they're fitting right inside the orange here. Right, and then you'll have your picture here, which will go right in there. So, but if you look here, you can see that they have that beige color, and then they have brown wheels. So if we go back to the cutting guide, you'll see that you are cutting out 3, but you're only using the brown for the wheels. You're going to be just fussy cutting that out. So this would be the main base layout for this, and you could put the wagon wheels going, because they'll go up here on this side. You can put them all the same way or going out, whichever way that you want. And the other thing to note from here, this is going to be why it's really important when we look at the cutting guide in a little bit more detail in a minute, why we're using the paper and cutting it this way, because this way, this is the correct direction. And we'll talk about that when we look at the cutting guide. She's used the big fall stickers here. There is some stickers in this sticker pack that are the fall, F-A-L-L letters that she's got here, but you can just follow her embellishments and move them out to the 2 pages. She does an amazing job. So I would put the fall on this side, and you can move this harvest one like over here. So just move them across the 2 pages. So let's come back and start layout number 4. So for layout number 4, project number 4, I didn't want to attach this yet because I wanted to talk to you about a few things when we're making this a 2-page spread. This is on this gorgeous wheat design paper. You kind of don't see a lot of it. Let me bring it up. Okay, can you see? You do see some, but you're going to have to use both sheets to do a 2-page layout. What I do have is I have some oat. I have some old oat that I might try using, or this is craft cardstock, and actually the oat might look nice, but I brought some other stuff out to try. Again, this one's a little bit tedious. Well, it's Sachi's word. We're just going to put these little strips along the outside. This green one goes 1 inch from the bottom. The colored one, which is, this is what 2B, goes across the top. This one, the yellow one, goes 2 inches from the bottom with the fence right on top of that. Again, I'm not going to cut my mats. It has 3 mats, but these mats are great because they hold 2 4x6s and 1 4x4. But in case I have to go horizontal, I'm not going to attach mats yet. And I need to think about what background I want to attach it to. Now, when we look at the cutting guide, we aren't going to have this 10-inch piece that we need up here. I only have a piece that is 9 inches left. So when you're making this page, you're going to be a bit short. But in my leftovers, I did have this piece. So like, what happens if I would just, you know, somehow maybe join these together? Would you actually notice it that much? Because, you know, once I get these mats on, you may not notice it. So when we look at the cutting guide at the end, I'll explain that, but there's not quite enough, and I didn't want to go into another sheet of paper because I am using that for the project recipe. But that's how you can mirror this to go across both pages, and then you decide if you want to use the wheat for the background or if you want to use beige, craft, some other color, and save these two wheat, which have, what's on the back? Oh, it has that cool pie paper on the back. So just wanted to let you think about that, and I'm still going to think about it, which is why it's not attached yet. So we're going to go on to the last one. So let me get number 5 ready. So for this last layout, this is where I haven't finished cutting yet because you're supposed to be using this orange plaid, but I had this darker one left over and I wanted to see if it really made a difference instead of opening up a new sheet. I have enough of this to do it, and I'll show you why this is a good time to look at. And I think I'm going to be okay just to do that. It might not be as bright, but it saves me this sheet for another project. So before I finish number 5, let's go look at the layout, the cutting guide, so that you can take some notes, and I'll talk about what I cut and what I didn't cut and why I made those changes, and we can look at them a little bit deeper. So for this orange wash, if you want to take notes, 1A is for layout number 1, 1B is for layout number 3, 1C is for layout number 1, and then the 3 1Ds are for layout number 2. Now, because I duplicated layouts 1 and 3, I used 2 sheets of orange paper, right? So the orange, and it actually has this pie on the back. You know, I cut 5 and 5 and 1 1/4. I tried to do it so that I could save paper. You can just repeat these, but you only need 3 of these pumpkins. So to save paper, I would cut my 5, my 1 1/4, and then you're going to need 2 4s. So kind of do, you know, whatever you want to save paper. Designer paper number 2, 2A is for 1, 2B is for 4, 2C, the 1/2 inch one, is for layout number 1, and then the 2D and E were for layout number 2, and so we only need 2 of those. And that's this is the only sheet of paper that I had for this, right? Which is why you can see one of those a little too short, and I'll show you why. 2A is 2 by 10.5, and that was on layout number 1. So that was this piece across the top. Oh, we didn't even notice on the second page that my other piece was only 2 by 9. I can go back and look at those, but it was shorter also, but maybe it wasn't as noticeable because it went across the top of the page. So if it didn't go the whole way, and because I don't have my mats, we didn't notice it. I only had this 3 by 9 piece left, and that's where we saw on the last layout that we just did how I was missing a little piece here. But I think I'm going to be okay. We will have still a little piece left over from down here, this one here, this 3 by 10. You'll have a 2 piece that I can attach here, and I don't think we're going to notice it. Okay, what I did do though is I moved 2E and I cut it over here, so that would give me a 3 by 9, and I could cut a 2.5 by 9, and I had an extra 1/2 inch strip, which of course I cut when I cut this one, not at the end, so that I had those 2 1/2 inch pieces. And I hope this is making sense because I wasn't going to redo the cutting guide. Now these designer paper 3 and 4, if you look at the back of those, it's a pumpkin spice. So it's kind of like, why are we having to use this of the second piece? The reason why is the direction. She has it cut so that when we're doing layout number 5, which one? Oh yeah, which is the one I have on the table, the pumpkin spice is going the correct way. But as I mentioned when we were doing layout number 4, the pumpkin spice was going across, which is why we're cutting this page in those multiple directions. So what I did when I cut this is I cut 3A and 3B as it said, and then I cut 2 3Cs, 2 3Ds. So 3A and 3B are for layout number 5. We don't need to cut 2 of them to do a double page layout because it's already a double page layout. But we do need to cut 2 of 3Cs, which is for layout 3, and 2 of 3Ds, which are for layout number 3 also. So what I did over here on the yellow one, we couldn't use the reverse because we don't have enough. So we do need to use the yellow one when cut 2 of 4A, which is for layout number 4. And that's the one that we just did that went across the bottom of the page here. And then you only need to cut one piece, 3 of these circles. We don't need to duplicate them, but we do have like a whole or half a sheet of that pumpkin spice left over, plus a piece here also, right? So I didn't cut my ovals from this sheet. I cut them from the leftover here, so that gave me a 8 by 12 inch piece of paper left over because I wanted to make sure I saved that one. Okay, so those two are for 4 and the ovals are for 2. Okay, so if we look at now layout number 5, this is the ones for layout number 1, sorry, page 5, designer page 5. Remember I said here for layout number 1, we did 2 3-inch pieces, 2 4-inch pieces, and I welded them together. This is why I could save that so I could cut my 5A and 5B, which are for layout number 5. So you only need to cut one, like 2 of those. You don't need to double it. And then you can cut these 3.5 by 3.5 and cut them diagonally. And then I had this piece here. And you don't need to duplicate those also, because for layout number 2, I only did a 1-page spread. If you were duplicating it, you would have to cut 2 more of those. But then I was able to get my 6 carts from this leftover piece. And I was able to use one 3 by 12 that goes on layout number 1. And I have a piece left over for my project recipe. So I did end up using both of these. So what I did to the one sheet for the background, I cut 2 4-inches and a 3-inch, which left me an inch left over. I actually used one for my welding strip and I left it attached. And then I cut another 3 by 12 from here. I cut 5 A, B, C, and D, and E. I only duplicated 5E and I still got it out of that little piece. And then the 3 by 12 and enough left over for my project recipe for tomorrow. Okay, hope that's good. Hope you're catching up, keeping up. Now, I did not cut 6 yet. When I cut my train tracks for layout number 4, so 6A is for layout number 4, I just used hot fudge cardstock. Now I did not cut these mats yet, but these are all going to be for layout number 3. So they are going to have to be duplicated, right? You can get them out, but you can't get them with the borders. You can get them all from the same sheet, doing 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 with the 6 1/4, turning this one around, but not getting your train tracks. And then since you know we're only using the wheels, you could just use the hot fudge cardstock. So again, 6A is for 4. You're going to need 2, but you can use hot fudge cardstock. And then the mats are for 3, layout number 3. Let's take a look. So you can duplicate them, or you can use mats from the mat pack, right? Okay, hope that made sense. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. So designer paper number 7, those are both for layout number 5. I did not use this sky blue wash. I must have used the other side of that for the project recipe. I actually used the tone-on-tone paper instead of the sky wash. So it doesn't matter, it's basically the same. You're just cutting that at 6 by 9 3/4. They both go for layout number 5. They're right here on layout number 5. So the back will be this orange. You can tell I got it from the tonal pack. So you can just, you don't need to duplicate that. So for page 8, not page 8 again, sorry, for paper 8, which is tone on tone, we're going to use that green wash. And this is where I have that brown left over because I had to use 2 sheets to get this 7 by 10, right? So 8A is for layout 4. And 8B and C are for layout 1. Those are our banners on layout 1 where we had 4 banners, 1, 2, and then 2 on the duplicate side. So you do need to use 2 sheets. I cut these out of this piece down here. Why waste that whole piece? But now I have this piece left over, which is why I'm thinking I might use this instead of going into that orange one like that. And no, it's not as bright. So I'm still thinking about it, which is why it's not attached, but I have this paper left over, so I didn't want to waste it. Okay, now when we get to the burnt orange wash, this one here, we've got a lot of little cuttings to do. That is this one that actually has the yellow on the back, and we're going to have a lot of that one left over too. But 9A, there are 4 of them that are 3/8 by 12. Those are for layout number 4. So 9A, those 4 pieces are for layout number 4, and you will need to do 8 of them, right? So that's what's going around this border here. So you will need to cut 8. 2B, there's 4 that are 1/8 by 10. That's for layout number 2. And because I only did a 1-page spread, I only had to cut 1. Those are those little tiny strips here. And then if we go to 9C, there are 2 of them 3/4 of an inch by 9 3/4. And 9D is 3/8 by 9 3/4. And those are the ones that you can see here on layout number 5. So you don't need to duplicate them because we already have 2 of each. So 9A is for 4, 9B is for 2, 9C is for layout 5, as well as 9D for 5. And then this little tiny piece that you're cutting off down here at the bottom, that goes to 9E. That's the pot. That's sorry, 9E goes to layout number 2. That's the top of the pumpkin here. Okay. So now we're on to paper 10. That's a sky blue plaid. You are going to have to use 2 of these sheets. I'm just trying to find it in my scrap pile. It is this one, which has the red on the back, because we're going to cut it to 8 inches, and it's going to be 8 by 7 and 8 by 3. Okay, so you will have 2 little sheets and then this little bit left over of those. Those are both for layout number 3, right? So that's the blue that we did at the top and the bottom of project 3. Now, page 11, this is where I'm at right now. Do I use this or do I use the orange? I have enough here to do all of this. So I think instead of using the orange plaid, I'm going to use this, I guess it's like a brown plaid with the green wash on the back. I'm going to use that one and save my orange plaid. So all of these on paper 11 are from layout number 5. Now for paper 12, which is a bright white cardstock, we have the 10 by 10, again, is for project 2 because I did not duplicate this. I only did 1. You can duplicate it. You do need to cut 2 white train tracks. I call them train tracks, and it's not, it's a fence. I had extra ones cut. I just used a piece of scrap paper. And then your mats. So anything that's on layout number 1, so 13A and B and C are for layout number 1. 13D and E are for layout number 4. 13F is for layout number 5. 14A is for layout number 4, and 14B and C are for layout number 5. Now, we do need to duplicate anything that's for layout 1 and 4, right? So you can fit some of them in here. I haven't played around with where I can get these into yet, but try to save some of this so that you can duplicate 13A, B, C, D, and E are the ones you need to duplicate. And you could probably turn this around and get another 3.5 by 3.25 by 4.25 here. You could, you can kind of look to see what you can get or move them around a little bit more. And then the last one, paper 15, is the avocado cardstock. A, B, and C are for layout number 2. I did not duplicate those because I only did one of those pages. 15D is for layout number 1, which you'll have to cut 2 of those for the matching page here. And if you decide to do the matching page, you would just cut 4 more 4x4 photo mats for there. So I hope that maybe helped you. I want to talk a little bit more about layout number 5, but I hope that helped you with the numbers. If I missed anything, or you can pause and go back, just drop me a note if I missed something, you don't know where it goes, how to duplicate them. All the completed pages when I get them will be on my VIP page. So if you're not part of my VIP group, just please go ask for access. It's different than my scrapbook with Denise, where I do the 52 weeks of scrapbooking. My VIP group is for my customers. One note I wanted to give you for this layout, now that I've decided I'm going to use this brown, this piece here that's going to go up. So we've got our pieces that we just reviewed. We have this mat. We have a border that's going to go across the page. I'm going to cut this down. I still need to cut my circles, but this piece up here, we need to cut it to 9 3/4, right? It's like Harry Potter. So what I did is I left it full and I lined it up. I'm putting the flat edge here, and I actually fussy cutted this end so it has a nice end on it. So I'm going to do the opposite on this side. I'm going to put my flat edge here and I will fussy cut. And then then you can see all the half circles are going to go at the top. And hopefully those won't blend in too much. Maybe I'll change my mind and you'll see my completed page with the orange. But what they did, if you look closely at the project playbook, she's gone and cut a lot of some more of these acorn chains. What's it actually called? It is called acorns and leaf chains. She cut some more out of different colors. All I did for now is I just kept the backs. And you can just go and put those back in, and maybe they won't work. They're not going to work. I didn't even try. You are going to have to cut other ones because they won't. I was hoping that they would be opposite so that I could get them fit in, but they won't do that. So I'll have to go back to some other my paper and cut some more so that I can get some inserts to put in there. And she also used a mat here, and then half of this mat down here. And again, I haven't cut it yet in case I want to put a 4x6 picture there. I may not want to cut this one in half. But again, you can see the reasons why we cut that paper number 2, why we cut 3A and B. Make sure you cut that. You check, make sure your paper is in the right direction, because A and B are going to be going along the side of your page vertically. C and D are going horizontally. So that's very important to do that. Well, I hope that helped you out a bit and wasn't more of a hindrance than a help. But thanks for joining me as I was putting these together, and talk to you all soon. Happy scrapping. Bye for now.